Hello, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to the second installment of our Sensemaking Community History documentary project, capturing stories from the field of information architecture through live Q&A with the people who built the practice.
This is the second panel interview. We'll be live streaming once a month through the end of 2026. Each session will be released as an individual video, and ultimately we're making a movie to preserve the oral history of the community with plans to screen it at the IA conference in 2027, held April 14th to 17th in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, dates have been released. Exciting. I will be one of your hosts, Fellerman. I'm a sensemaker in residence with the Sensemakers Club. Once upon a time, I went to journalism school at the University of Florida, which I believe I have in common with one of our guests.
Sounds familiar.
And for the last 9 years, I've been working in user experience, content strategy, design, operations, and communications.
Cool. And I'm your host, David Farkas, a UX generalist turned researcher and secret information architect. I find complex workflows and sticky enterprise domains a delightful challenge. And I'm occasionally known for giving my team pens that read. I have receipts because researchers are the ones who come with the data. Today's topic is Formalizing the Community, the birth of the IAI, and we're meeting with Jesse James Garrett and Andrew Hinton. Unfortunately, Christina Wodtke could not join us today, but they are the founders of Asilomar Institute, and I've had the privilege of knowing Andrew for a number of years, and Jesse and I have crossed paths on a few occasions at various conferences. Cass, I believe you're meeting everyone for the first time today?
Yes, it is an honor and a privilege to meet you. In case anyone else in the audience is meeting you for the first time, we'd like to begin by asking you to introduce yourselves. Who are you? What do you do? And how did you start practicing IA? Andrew, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Andrew Hinton. I'm currently now live in the Philadelphia metro area again, not super far from Mr. Farkas. My current role is I manage a design team for a regional bank called, of all things, Regions Bank, that's based in the Southeast. Been there for a few years now. I've split my time in my career between in-house and out-house, so to speak. Consulting and internal. A lot of financial, like Vanguard was among those, State Farm, but also with the Understanding Group as a consultant, with Macquarium, and with a little outfit that nobody's ever heard of, also back in the late 90s. And I got involved with information architecture because that little outfit back in the late 90s, it was an interactive wing of an ad firm. And they had just gotten it cranked up, and they needed an internet copywriter, they were calling it, and paired me with an internet art director. It very quickly I realized, I'm not just writing, I'm making places with these words, and I was trying to sort out okay, what is it that I'm doing now with this? I mean, I'd made websites, I was familiar, and I'd been doing work just as a hobbyist. And whatnot, right? I made some Quake servers and some websites for things like that, when I was supposed to be working, in the job I had before. But then, suddenly there were people wanting to pay me to do it. And I was like, all these discussions about how big a button should be are interesting, but where does it take you and why? And then I discovered the SIG-IA mailing list, a listserv, that had this burgeoning information architecture community, and they were talking about these bigger questions, right? And that was really intriguing, and it kind of felt like I'd found a lot of my kin, so to speak, and it kind of went from there. So I've been involved with the community, since then. I don't even want to say how long that's been now.
This is a history project, so we are addressing.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Jesse, how about you?
Andrew, did you mention your book? Did I miss it?
Oh, I did not. Oh, yeah, that's right. And part of that obsession for many years, thanks, Jesse, for many years, it turned into a book that I wrote for O'Reilly that they thought, oh my God, cool. There it
Yeah.
is in the
Got it
flesh.
right here, man.
Poor O'Reilly, they thought it was going to be a new polar bear book, and it is not that. But basically, I was trying to answer for myself the question of what the hell is it that I'm making, and what am I making it with? What's this material, right? And that went down a rabbit hole of embodied cognition that I have not escaped yet. So that's kind of what the book is built on. But then it gets into like language and digital information, and how all of that grounding adds up to this weird abstracted environment that we're able to create with ones and zeros.
Thanks so much for making that connection. We talked about the polar bear book in our conversation last month, so understanding context is the follow-up. Jesse, please take it away.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say that in this new era of context engineering, I think there's a whole bunch of wisdom in Andrew's book that a lot of people have yet to discover.
Thank you, Jesse. Hey, Christina can join us.
Hey,
Right.
fantastic. Great. Christina's here
We were
to
going to
save
have
us.
to make up a bunch of stuff that we
We
don't
were.
really
It
know.
was going to be bad.
It
My
was.
name is Jesse James Garrett. As Cass alluded to, I went to journalism school at the University of Florida. Came out of there with dreams of, joining a major metropolitan newspaper in the Clark Kent fashion, and doing good for truth and justice and all of that. And like many people with such dreams, found myself working in internet marketing. And as an internet marketing copywriter, similar to Andrew, I found myself realizing that the challenge of creating content on the web was really a multidimensional one and a multifaceted one, and it required thinking about my own craft in new ways. And I, like Andrew, went seeking ways to inform what I was doing, and that's how I came across the Polar Bear book originally. And actually, even before that, Rosenfeld and Morville had been doing a column for I can't remember the name of the magazine now. Anyway, they did a column for one of the tech magazines that was called Web Architect, that really kind of started seeding these ideas in my mind about information architecture as the craft that was really underlying what I was doing, as I eventually found myself in the position of managing a content team for an e-commerce website and having to figure out how to weave everybody's work together into something that felt cohesive. And basically, I talked my employers into giving me that scope and that job title, and it just kind of rolled on from there. Got a job as an information architect in San Francisco, and was fortunate to have found out about the first Information Architecture Summit when that was convened, and was lucky enough to be in the room when this community really kind of sparked for the first time face to face in that way. And in a lot of ways, I think that's what led to the eventual founding of the Institute itself, at least in my own narrative. Other people might have their own.
That's exactly what we're here to figure out.
That is awesome. And Peter is saying in the chat that it was the .NET magazine, Web Architect. So I think that might have been the panel there. Seems we're having some technical difficulties with Christina. Hopefully she's able to join us. But to keep our conversation going, curious, and you're alluding to this already a little bit, Jesse, paint a picture for us. When was this in the industry, and where were you when you saw a need for this information architecture community? What was missing, and what was that aha moment like?
Well, it's interesting because IA was cresting right as the industry was crashing, in terms of the .com boom into the .com bust. The first IA summit happened in the spring of 2000, where things were just like looking up and up and up and brighter and brighter and brighter. The second one happened in the spring of 2001. The narrative was really different by then. The stock market had already crashed twice. A lot of people had lost their jobs, and a lot of people were looking at things like information architecture as puffery, as snake oil, as a load of impressive jargon that was being used to sell overpriced services to businesses that didn't need them. And that was kind of the narrative in around 2000, 2001, 2002 with this stuff. There was still a lot to prove about the value of it and the validity of it as a body of knowledge and as a practice. And I think that, from my point of view, was the problem space that we were looking at when we started down the path that eventually led to the Institute.
Andrew, anything to add? What do you remember about 2000, 2001?
Yeah, like the agency I was with, we were lucky to a point where we had like old school manufacturing clients, right? Like furniture manufacturers, stuff like that, right? And so the dot bomb had not hit them in the same way because, hey, Christina, because if my memory serves, a lot of the crashes were because there was like VC inflated money, right? Like a lot of these companies. So like once that cash went away, like a lot of them crashed. But of course, a lot of stocks and bonds and stuff were tied up in that, and jobs. So it took me longer for that to hit. Basically, we had a year still. So it was still okay for us. So luckily, we had the money from my employer to send me to the second and third and fourth IA summits, which were great. And that's where I first, the one that was at I think it was at the San Francisco airport, was 2001. I first met Christina. I think, I don't know if I met Jesse, but I remember Jesse giving it a talk or a panel or something.
Yeah, I was on the program committee that year.
Yeah. But the vibes were good. And actually, it's funny. They paid for me to go to the next couple because I actually landed a client. I met some people from UNC Chapel Hill that were there, and then they connected us with the Flagler Business School. Weird name. Anyway, we ended up doing the website for them like a year later because of that connection. So they were like, "Oh, well, if we're gonna we never got any other business out of that conference, by the way, but like it was enough for me to run on for a couple of years." But that's kind of how I remember it.
No, that's great. And Christina, we are so glad you could join us. All you missed were some brief intros, letting our attendees and folks watching who might not be familiar with you, who you are, and then our first question we were asking, we could segue in as well. Where were you at that origin of the information architecture community, and what brought you to it?
Oh my gosh. So sorry for all the excitement about my Wi-Fi connections, but here I am having battled through it on the phone. So let's see. Who am I? That's always a really fascinating question. One that takes hours to explain. Currently, I am a core lecturer at Stanford University, where I teach HCI, which is, of course, the mothership of information architecture and interaction design and all sorts of things. Yes, Abby, it is true. I do contain multitudes, always have, always will. So back in the old days, I was working at eGreens. Actually, when I first came to San Francisco, I was painting and waiting tables because I went to art school. And since other folks started with their educational background, and one day a friend of my boyfriend at the time said, "Hey, we're building a Yahoo killer. Do you want to join us?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" At CNET. And so I reviewed like 50 websites a week and really just fell in love with this internet thing and figured out how to make it, because there were lots of interesting explanations about how to write HTML. Nobody told me about FPS, unfortunately. It took me a while to figure out how do I get it from this computer into that computer. But once I had that, I was off to the races and worked with web girls a lot back in those days. I don't know if you remember, it was very passionate about getting women on the web. And got a job at eGreetings, and I was working as a front-end coder at the point. At that time, I got to see the birth of all sorts of things like iframes and JavaScript and such. CSS. And so what happened is I was doing reviews with our creative director, and I mentioned one day that I was going to become a backend coder as well. And he said, "Don't do that. It's a waste. You know so much about usability and stuff. Join us." I'm like, "What title would I have?" And he goes, "What do you want?" And I had just read this spanking new book. It had just come out called Information Architecture, with the infamous Polar Bear book. And I said, "I would like to be an information architect." And he's like, "I don't know what that is, but sure," because this was the internet and it was fun back then. And so I became an information architect for e-greetings and did that for a while, and then had all sorts of various jobs under that name, then interaction design, then director of design, then eventually becoming a GM, and then rage quitting the entire industry and taking some time off, but went to culinary school, traveled the world, and then ended up teaching. And I always include information architecture because I think it's core to what we do. Oh, yeah,
Wow.
I think that's everything, right?
Yeah,
No,
I'm here.
that's good. That's it. Everyone, thanks for coming. No, and so we're in this early 2000s time. Jesse, I think you mentioned the .com, boom and bust and subsequent there, and that's right around the area. And I think Andrew, you were describing sort of how you met both Jesse and Christina. Maybe Andrew, we'll start with you. Tell us how y'all got together, and how did the IAC go from an idea and a group of people meeting into the IA summit, the IA organization,
yeah.
as it is. IAI, yeah.
Aye.
Yeah. The summit started. That was like the Argus folks and Christina. I think were some of y'all, right? Were kind of behind getting that going, or at least by the time I joined in 2001, Christina was at least doing some official things at it. So it made her seem very official to me. As Jesse mentioned, the job market was weird, and I think everybody was trying to, the market in general was trying to figure out, okay, well, this web thing clearly is useful for something, but what do we do now? And so a big, I remember a big part of the conversation was we need job boards. Like we need a way. We've got these skills. We need a way for people who we know need us to know that what we can do. And that they should hire us, right? So organizing around some kind of job board, I remember being an early thing that was kind of fixated on, and that was just in the conversation of the community. And there was a sort of, I remember, Christina, there was an early try at some kind of thing, but there were a couple of troll adjacent personalities or something that got involved in that, and it kind of fizzled. And then there was a sort of secret invitation thing that happened. Not a secret, but anyway, but like a few of us who apparently didn't offend anybody too badly in that early attempt got invited to be a part of the conversation still, just under, behind the veil for a while. And that's how I got roped in. So, and then before I knew it, like we were talking about, hey, let's get together. And then the Asilomar location, I think, I can't remember, maybe Christina, you were the one that came up with that because you had some, previous experience there. And it was a lovely place to do this. It was kind of perfect. In fact, I even, some years later, I'd never heard of the architect, the woman that had designed it, until I went there. And
Julia Morgan.
Some years later in a present. Yeah, Julia Morgan. And some years later, I used her as an example in a talk I gave at the summit, sometime later. But, that's how I recall it.
It's so funny because the IA Summit and IAI always feel very intertwinkled, but they were actually fairly different. IA Summit, I went to the very first one and I got really excited. And because I don't have any fear or sense, I'm not sure why, I went up and introduced myself to everybody, including Lou Rosenfeld and Peter Morville and Andy, another Andrew. Do you remember who taught in Texas? And he was like the third
Andrew
chair?
Gillen.
Thank you. Andrew Dillon.
Gillen.
Yeah, he's at the end of the summit I was chatting.
He was in Chapel Hill by then, I think.
Oh, was he? Okay, maybe.
If I'm not mistaken. I think, yeah.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Indiana.
Yeah, we should.
Oh, really? I thought he was in North Carolina. Anyway, we'll figure that out later. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a history. It's an oral history. We're all piecing together the bits we remember. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll
Yeah,
have
this
a
is
chance
great.
to correct the record.
Yeah. Well, Andrew Dillon had chaired the third summit, and he just said, "You should chair the fourth." And I'm like, "I have no idea what I'm doing, but okay." And so I chaired the fourth one, and that was the year I'm still proud that Stuart Brand came. Fun fact: I've never actually keynoted at the IA Summit all the years that it's existed, but I did share it. So I was sort of involved at various levels in the background, and I've spoken there a gazillion times. But what happened was I was really worried about information architecture in general, as like, where's it going and how is it growing and what's next? And I was talking to Lou in particular. He's such an instigator, and Peter Morville to a certain degree. And I just wanted to put up some of us together to talk about, does IA have a future? I mean, the interaction design folks were getting big, and there seemed to be a lot of stuff going on. And I wondered if it was going to survive as a practice. And so I suggested Asilomar because I go there all the time, because it's in Monterey, Pacific Grove, just not that far from where I live. So I go down there for weekends, and they were awesome. They said they would give us free meeting rooms if we just had rooms, if we just paid for the rooms. And I was like, that's a deal. And so.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Wi-
no.
Wi-Fi is
That's-
not her friend
It
today.
was just
Real
getting good there
suspenseful
today,
moment,
too.
right?
Yeah.
And then
We're going to, Jesse or Andrew, do either of you know
While
the
she's
rest?
away, while she's away, let me make a point to that we've sort of danced around so far. But it was so the SIG-IA mailing list, right? Was sorry, Christina. While you dropped, I was just going to clarify this one thing. The SIG-IA mailing list was run by ASIST, right? So it was a whole separate, more academically oriented organization, and they were sort of and then they were the ones that actually organized and did the summit in terms of like backing it and everything, right? So the distinction Christina pointed out is that's a big part of that distinction. That was a whole other organization that those of us in the community really didn't have that much input to, other than just and they were friendly and it was fine, but it wasn't like the community's organization. So the summit. And this went on. This was a confusing thing for years. People thought that the summit was an IA Institute event, and it was not. And it was anyway, but a source of a lot of back and forth over the years.
That's why it was called the summit.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that one point.
Yeah, it was called the summit because ASIS was like, we keep hearing about this IA thing. Maybe we should hold the summit and find out what it is. And then we just sort of took over.
And this listener is getting busy.
Yeah. Summit was their brand for their one-off special interest events. This just turned out to be a one-off that ran for 20 years. So yeah, I mean, I think that the community was in this interesting state of a place of tension, a little bit of a place of homelessness, and a desire to create some kind of a center of gravity for ourselves. Both within the job market as well as I think in terms of, I mean, there was a strong intellectual agenda here.
Yes.
That there were ideas about information systems, about humane and human-centered approaches to these systems, and there was a lot of energy in the community. People who really believed that this could mean something significant if we could get a foothold in the real world outside of our conversations on the mailing lists. So that's, to my mind, the spirit behind the Asilomar retreat.
Very much so. I
love the distinction. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was simply going to say, I love the distinction of reminding folks the distinction of the IAI and the summit, because I think, like you said, Andrew, that's something that often is lost in translation. It's why we're doing this oral history, being able to set that record straight. Absolutely. But Christina, I interrupted you. Please go on.
Oh, not at all. I don't mind. Video calls are complicated. I think that what was interesting to us was that we sort of were these adopted redheaded stepchildren, or whatever you want to call it, of ASIS. and there was sort of a desire to take control of our own fate, and that we all believe, I hope to this day, profoundly in the importance of information architecture. The idea, I mean, if you think about it, I've always found it amusing that I think we have the same motto as Google used to have, which is to find and organize the world's information and make it usable. That was a profoundly, deeply held belief, and search was part of our tools, but it wasn't all of our tools. And so we got together in these smaller groups really talking about how can we make sure information architecture continues to grow and get smarter about itself. And I think that's a sentiment that's then led to people like Andrea Resmini, creating the Journal of Information Architecture, or Mike creating Boxes and Arrows. It's just this desire to have a respectable foothold where we could really think through what is it and how does it belong to everything and where does it fit and what is its unique advantage, all that stuff.
Okay, so the three of you started the IA Institute. Is that correct?
Well, with about
among other people, yeah.
Yeah.
You were there for that, and then you all were attending the early summits. The community is growing, and
and
trying to establish.
And it was called the Asilomar Institute for Information Architecture too, because we were so inspired by the space, and it, I don't know if and it sounded kind of international. If that makes sense. But yeah, it wasn't a beloved name. AFIA as a shorthand wasn't going over great. So anyway, eventually other boards changed it, but just a little tidbit of background on that.
I've always thought there was some resentment of the people who weren't invited.
Oh, sure. I mean, this did from the outside, I'm sure, look like, a backroom gathering of the elite. The lack of diversity and of representation notwithstanding, I do feel like there was a range of people with different points of view ended up at the retreat. I think the important thing to remember about it is that we did not go to Asilomar to figure out how to found an institute. We went to Asilomar to just look at everything and say, what does this need right now? And we spent all this time like walking and talking and sitting in these meeting rooms, hashing out what would be the thing that would best serve the work and the community that was building up around the work. And so, we talked about events, we talked about job boards. I remember an extensive discussion of some kind of a centralized message board, forum hub kind of a thing. We talked through a lot of different possibilities until we realized that if we started an institute, some sort of an umbrella organization, all of these things could potentially be spun up under that umbrella. And so that kind of became the focus of the energy as the conversation unfolded. But that wasn't in any way where we started or where we intended to go.
No. Carl Fast, in particular, I remember was very passionate about the institute concept, and he's the one who suggested the name, the Asilomar Institute, because I suppose there's been other histories of place names. And I think if you don't talk to Carl, it's a mistake, because he has some good memories. Also, there's a wonderful collection of photos by Erin Malone, who's another person worth talking about, from the Institute. If we're doing history digging up of stuff, she took a ton of great photos, including some hilarious ones of Jesse, so I'll just leave you with that teaser.
I have no memory of this, so I'll have to look it up myself.
Amazing.
Last month, we got a phenomenal original information architecture job posting that we're going to add to some of these archives. So yes, any of those photos, and I will wait, anticipating what we get of Jesse and others. We would love to have those. We'll be reaching out to folks.
I remember it was pretty cold and dreary most of the weekend, but
it was Pacific Grove. There was like a permanent fog that had camped out on top of Asilomar. The best time to go to Asilomar is like October, strangely enough. But yeah, pretty typical weather.
Yeah. Speaking of place names, and Christina, I believe when you lost connection earlier, you were talking about the site. So, like, it sounds like it was a hotel. You said, like, the rooms, you got rooms to stay there for the retreat, and that made the conference rooms free. Is that what you were saying?
So the Asilomar is a conference ground. It is owned by the state of California. It is an arts and crafts former YWCA camp that then was turned into a conference center. It's beautiful. There are fireplaces. There are deer wandering around outside. The name Asilomar was apparently somebody's badly understood Spanish, which is supposed to mean a refuge by the sea. And because Richard Saul Wurman always called it a sea of information, I thought we were creating a refuge for the sea of information. So I thought it had a little tie in there somehow. So I don't know. We were all kind of high on the beauty of the place and the intellectual excitement of talking about this thing that we all love so much. I remember David. Oh my God, David starts with Dave Hoffer.
Yeah.
Dave Hoffer took us on this crazy walk along the beach over to the inn at Spanish Bay, and I had my baby with me, and it was just, yeah, I'm like slowly remembering the people who were there. I'm sure the photos will fill in a lot of the mysteries. Todd Wilkins was there too. Trying to remember. Anyway.
Jesse McMullen. Jesse McMullen. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a picture too. I was trying to find it just now while we were jabbering.
A group photo.
Yeah, there's one photograph of all of us together
Yeah.
that we took at the very end of the weekend.
I'm just picturing the
one
black
person
and
was
white.
taking it who's not in the photo.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember who that was.
That was my ex-wife.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that was Rebecca. Okay.
Yeah.
Mystery solved.
I'm picturing the black and white Captain America style, like original MCU Avengers. This is that origin story.
Yeah,
photo.
we totally looked that
definitely
cool.
get that.
I looked especially cool in that photo. Totally.
So, what did success look like back then at that first Asilomar meeting of the minds? You know, you, 7 others, maybe someone else not there. Like, what did success look like for y'all at that point for a community?
Not sure we were that mature to come up with success criteria. That was before I knew about OKRs anyway. Otherwise, we would have had them, I'm sure. What do you think, Jesse? Do you remember? You have a deep think.
I think coming out of it, if I kind of remember what it was like driving back home from Asilomar, I think I was energized by a sense of focused momentum as opposed to this kind of diffuse kind of everything bouncing off of everything else kind of energy that had been characterizing really the discourse in the community up to that point. The idea that we could like get going in a single direction and all kind of row towards something together was exciting.
Yeah. And then Peter tricked me into being the first president, but I don't think I did anything useful, so it didn't hurt anything.
Somebody had to go first.
I know.
But yeah, no, I mean, after that, there was a lot of researching organizational structures and drafting bylaws and all of the stuff that goes into setting up, a professional organization like that.
It really was a team effort.
I don't recall how long it took. Yeah, I remember everybody was digging into some piece of it or another piece of it, and all of the stuff being reviewed. I don't remember how long that process took before we finally were able to announce. Was it like the next summit? When did we announce? Do you remember?
Probably the summit, but that's just a guess. I really don't remember.
Yeah.
The internet remembers.
Because this wasn't your day jobs, right? Like this was a extracurricular activity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything that all the community efforts had been extracurricular up to this point.
I'm not sure we ever paid anybody to do anything until later on when we had the conference. I think the conference was the idea conference was a moneymaker, but other people could say better than that. I think Peter might be able to speak to that in particular.
Yeah, so it's interesting, like considering what your idea of success was at that point, and then all of a sudden, like it took however long it took to mature as an organization, and
yeah,
it sounds like it was the next year you had something.
Yeah, and people were excited about it. I remember one of the distinct debates that we had early on had to do with, to your point about hiring somebody. At what point, how do we develop a business model for this thing, and at what point does that become essential? And because, as I mentioned, everything that we had done up to this point had been passion projects, off hours, tapping into people's enthusiasm. Running an organization like this was going to require something different. And I remember myself strongly advocating for us to come out of the gate with a business model and to have something to offer people that would be something worth paying for as soon as we possibly could. The trouble was that it's hard to kind of kickstart that kind of thing, and it was slow going, I think, for us to find ways to create revenue for the Institute that will allow the Institute to sustain itself. Of course, Christina was the one who was actually running it at the time, so we're much closer to those conversations.
I think I was much more of a figurehead, to be quite honest. I think.
And the thing is that the summit, even though it's a separate organization, right? We had a kind of a sweetheart deal with ASIST where you would get a bigger discount to go to the summit than what membership in the Institute would cost.
Yeah.
I forget what the numbers were, but it was significant. So basically, show that you're a member of the Institute and you get this discount. So we got lots of membership because of that, honestly. And I think that's where a lot of the, and as the summit grew, cause it was, for a while there weren't a lot of these, especially not like community driven ones, right? There were some big like corporate, type, the internet conference or whatever it was called, things like that. But this was a really bottom up community driven thing. Which has now become rare again, in our world. So it was kind of a gift, really, that we were able to fund it, I think, that way. And then by the time I was on the board, IDEA had already been spun up, and that was even more of a moneymaker, right? And everything was looking really sweet up until the next big crash in 2008, and then everything got complicated again.
And I'm curious, maybe, I'd asked about the goals you had, and Christina very, very accurately. We didn't have OKRs back then, but in hindsight, and I realize the biased hindsight brings us, but what would each of you say is the thing that you say that's where we succeeded on? Having seen the last 2 decades, almost 3 decades since this origin, what was the thing that you're most proud of during that time of the IAI?
I think most proud of at that time and lasting impact are 2 different questions.
Which one would you like to answer?
Well, most proud of at that time, I would say, Andrew mentioned the IDEA conferences. So this was Peter Merholtz's idea when he was president of the IAI. He said, it's time for us to do our own event, our own way, and forget about ASIS, forget about the summit. And the truth is, this was what ASIS was always terrified was going to happen, was that IAI was going to take all the information architects and walk away from the only event of theirs that did anything like that kind of business. So they were eager to hang on to it. But information architecture as a community kind of wanted to set its own destiny. And the IDEA conferences, they did 2 consecutive years, were both fantastic, really eclectic and optimistic, and embracing the full diversity of the potential of information architecture in a way that even the summit, I think, didn't really do. And so that, of the stuff that we did at the time that we did, I didn't have anything to do with that, but I was around. that's definitely the stuff that felt like that was the Institute at its best, in service to the community and in service to its own mission. And yeah, I don't know about the lasting impact. I think that there is, as much as has been lost about information architecture and its craft and its history and its principles. I think it could have been a lot worse without the Institute.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a hard one because in a lot of ways, the thing I'm proud of is that I created an organization, not by myself in any way, shape, or means, but I was one of the founders of an organization that made space for some really wonderful experiments that were done by other people. I feel very motherly in that way, that it was, Peter's wonderful idea conference and Abby Covert's World IA Day, and I don't even know who created the mentorship program, but the mentorship program affected so many people. I know Abby Covert became a huge force in AI because of the IAI's membership things. And there's things I wish we'd done. I wish we'd eventually had our own journal. I think we made a couple goes at it and never had somebody do it. And it's, to me, has it had a lasting impact? I could make a facile joke and say it's the friends we made along the way. But the reality is that it's an incredible community, and we may have grown up and gone our own ways, but that knowledge is diverse. It's spread out among the world. It's viral effects, where people bring their knowledge outwards. So, and the fact that you guys are still doing it, you're our kids, you're the crazy kids who got affected by this thing, and now you're keeping it alive, keeping the torch on. And like Jesse said, I think that wouldn't have been possible if the AI hadn't built such a strong foundation for it, even though it was died/killed by unfortunate events. And the problem with having this be video is we can't tell you all the dirty little secrets that we would if it was a private interview.
Right, we're keeping it above board here.
Exactly.
And as someone, I only just attended, I haven't even fully attended the conference. It's now the conference, right? Yes,
Yep.
the conference. Yeah, but I will. And yeah, talk about lasting impact. Like, it's incredible. And to your point, this is documented. This is iterative. Like, it's doing the thing. Andrew, do you have anything to add with on this thread? Most proud, lasting impact?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, a lot of people came through the summit, and again, that wasn't an institute thing, but the institute was definitely an organization that was sort of this sister organization that provided almost all of the people that made the summit happen. Right. So there's definitely a symbiotic, relationship there. And I think that, I don't know, it was, what is it? Small pieces loosely joined, it felt a little bit like that. Right. And the thing is, I used to say we ended up founding a professional, organization, professional membership or whatever, professional organization, just in time for professional organizations to start feeling like dinosaurs. Because it used to be that especially the ones that are more established, right? Like, that was where you could get the info, like IEEE, right? They publish a magazine, they have the job boards, they had all these connections. So all of that information, being a channel and a publisher and a connector of information, was a big part of what a professional organization was. But then the internet was like, okay, but anybody can just put information out there now, right? So that was another thing where we kind of it was the best of times, the worst of times, right? In a sense. But I'm really proud of the ideas we put out there, the people that kind of came through the organization. It is amazing to me, if you think about how many people that you see now that for years people have been looking to as gurus, as guides, as experts, who have gone on to found companies and studios or products, people that came through this community. And I don't know. It's hard. It'd be hard to point out another one that I feel like had created that much influence over time. And again, like those of us who were involved in those early meetings, and I didn't really do any of the hard work. A lot of other people wrote up like bylaws and all that stuff, but like there were a lot of people that were not on some of these, pages that have listed the people that were involved. It was a real community that was really trying to kind of come together around a shared interest that we thought was important. And I agree. Like I don't think it would have had that impact without it.
Yeah, and I just want to read something that came through on the public chat with a few plus ones. I think it had an impact for sure. I wouldn't have been drawn to IA without it feeling like a professional skill set that could be taken seriously. So to you three panelists, to anyone who's joined us, will be joining us, it is definitely there. Cass, I'm going to pass over to you to take us home with our film question.
Yes, for the documentary. First, hold on. Can we take a second for the cat? Christina, thank you for bringing your cat to the party.
I didn't really have a choice. He demands. I obey.
Oh, guest star. We love that. A cameo appearance from a pet. So yes, we're going to make a documentary after we do a bunch more of these or whatever. And we've kind of been talking about it. But if there's a standout moment in your mind, what's your most memorable information architecture community moment? It could be from those early summits, a more recent one, like anything, not even a summit, but when you think about the information architecture community and how far it's come, what moment would you want to share with the rest of the world? Yeah.
I have so many. It's going to be hard to pick.
It's a hard one. Yeah.
It is hard to pick.
Christina, remember it's recorded, so we got to pick one of the clean ones.
Right.
I mean, for some reason the San Diego IA Summit, which Abby Covert was the chair that year, because of Richard Saul Werman, he gave a keynote that pissed off half the room, and the other half of the room was giving him a standing ovation. He taught us to peel a banana backwards. I remember him coming, though, into various sessions. Like, when does a keynote actually stay and actually talk to the people he's speaking to? He gave me life advice because he was holding court in one of the lobbies, and there were a bunch of people who pulled chairs around him. And I asked him, about...
I think you just answered your own question, Christina.
Yeah, it's so vivid. Like, it was Phoenix.
Oh, that was Phoenix.
Yeah,
that's right.
Sorry.
They all blur together.
But I remember him saying, I remember him. I asked him, how do I put on a conference? What can you tell me? Because he invented TED, for freak's sake, And he said, well, you'd have to follow me around for weeks because I compose the music and I design the furniture and I select the chef and I fix the dishes. And I thought, this is a man who never takes the package deal ever. And that's been a life lesson to me. It's like anytime anybody offers me the package deal, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to design freaking everything. So that might be the one that sticks out more than anything. And I think Abby may have caught some flack by some members of the community for it, but I can only thank her because I thought that was really an extraordinary summit.
Good answer.
Thank you.
I think when I think about memorable community moments, I think about those moments of the community coming together. There's definitely the energy of that first summit, and everybody, facing off for the first time, the academics and the theoreticians versus the streetwise practitioners. And the clash of perspectives and the language gap and the language barrier that existed between the communities at that time and all of that kind of stuff. But then coming back to San Francisco, and Christina instigated our local IA cocktail hour. And we, as a community, would rove around month to month from office to office, breaking NDAs left and right in order to share what we could about our craft. I remember that deliverables show and tell. It felt like going skinny dipping with a bunch of strangers. Like everybody was like, okay, I'm going to show you my deliverables now. Here's what I give to a client. How about you? And yeah, those moments of really minds coming together for the first time around shared passions are really the moments that stand out for me.
Yeah, I would put a bookmark on the IA cocktail hours. They were pretty amazing. I remember
Speaking of cocktails.
Yeah. Oh,
Please, Chris.
I was just going to say.
Tell us what you remember.
I was just going to say I remember the one we had at Jesse's office. I wrote on the white on the wall where I thought there should be a whiteboard paint because there were whiteboard paint on 3 of the walls, but not on one. And I wrote on the one that did
one wall. The accent wall was the one that she wrote on.
Of course, and it was there for a long time. It's surprisingly long.
Stayed there. It stayed there the whole time we were in that office. I just left it there.
Funny memory.
I gotta say, those of us who were not in the Bay Area would sort of pick up on signals of all of this community activity that was going on, and had major FOMO, you guys, just so you know, like serious FOMO. But it was great to be able to tap into that energy that all of y'all brought when we did get together each year. And a memory that pops to mind for me is an after sessions party, and again, this is an iSummit thing, but an after sessions party in New Orleans. It was in this giant room with a balcony overlooking Bourbon Street. You know, Andrea Rismi was banging away on this grand piano, and I was starting to think like I needed to leave the consultancy I was at and go start working with these crazy guys that started this understanding group outfit. So that was 2012, I think, or 2012. Yep. Wow. And then, you know, months later, Dan Klein and Abby were happy to be in Atlanta, and we met up at a pancake joint, and I signed on to. And I was only with the understanding group a few years, but it was some of the most meaningful. I learned so much working with so many different clients, and it was a place where I felt like, wow, not only because for a long time, the life I was living at work just felt like a very separate place from the life that I had with this community, right? And with the understanding group, I got to have it all at the same time. It was amazing. And so I'm still honestly living off the fumes of those few years with the understanding group, but also just I don't know. I still feel a real kinship and connection to all the people that were a part of the Institute because like I remember Todd Wilkins and I crashed on the same bed at Aaron Malone's place. So over the years, Todd and I slept together once. Make that little joke.
Get steamy in here.
It's just there's so many little moments, right? You know, and I'd never been a part of something quite like that before, this kind of community, and I still feel a part of it. So it's really precious to me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Speaking of cocktails, last time we have a message for Jesse. You owe Lou for the martinis from the first conference at Asilomar. So that was a fun little joke that I was asked to pass on to you. Mm-hmm. But if we want to imagine that a little more realistically, seriously, next month we're going to be speaking with Peter Merholtz, Peter Boersma, and Stacy Surla about the founding of the IA Summit. So is there anything that you think we should ask them as part of this ongoing oral history conversation? We can also pass on jokes if that's preferred.
I mean, you definitely have to talk to Peter about the IDEA years. That's less about the IA Summit, but IDEA is something that should not get lost. It was really tremendous and important to pay attention to.
IDEA, got it. Will do. Anything else come to mind?
I would love to hear Peter tell the story of taking the stage at the first IA Summit and telling all the librarians in the room that they were wrong.
Yeah, that sounds juicy. I really liked this picture of academics versus street nerds. Like,
It was really
we're all
real.
nerds here, but it sounds like two very different types of nerd coming together.
Yeah,
Well, I
it was
think
tweed
there's-
versus leather all the way.
But remember, Aces gave us
There's a lot. I
5 minute
think I heard
madness.
East Coast. Yeah.
They gave you 5
Oh yeah,
minutes.
that's right.
Aces had some odd things because of their academic history, and one was 5 minute madness. At the end of every summit, people just line up to talk. They had up to 5 minutes to say whatever they wanted. And the stuff that came out of 5 minute madness was precious. I wish we'd filmed those conferences because some of them were just crazy and good. And yeah, I don't
Spicy
know.
takes.
You could actually say, like, it wasn't at one point it became a little promotional, but most of the time it wasn't promotional. It was really people saying, I saw this one talk and it made me think about this and this, and this is how I think IA matters in the world. And it was, I don't know, I think I cried more than once. It was beautiful.
Aw, love that.
Yeah, I think Jesse, asking Peter that question, I think one of my memories of you, Jesse, is I think it was the Boulder. I don't remember if it was a summit or IXDA, and one of your presentations then, and setting some excitement in the room. Idea conference, just for you three to know, was one of my first introductions to the larger IA community when I first moved to Philly. So definitely holds a place in my heart there. But I might have jumped ahead, Andrew, if there's anything you wanted to add for questions for next month's guests, or if there's anything else for folks to add.
I was once again distracting myself with finding a link that I just shared in the chat. So I'm sorry, but no, to share with the or to hear. I just want to. Yeah, no, I just want to know whatever they have to say. Honestly, like I don't know that I have anything specific. Like I said, like this is a multifaceted thing, and I feel like it's. I remember one thing I mentioned at CLMR was, which in a way maybe turned out to be true, but I was like, hey, even if we just found this as a movement that burns itself out, and it just influences some stuff, right? How could that be bad? Because I was thinking of like Dadaism and things like that. That's kind of where my head was. And that's one reason why the manifesto that I just put a link in, which really did come from thoughts that everybody contributed. I just sort of shaped it into a rant. Came from, right? Was this idea of like, let's at least frame set this and get people to understand that there's a sort of invisible world of the bones of all of this, right? The connections, the invisible relationships that make it all work, and that you need people who have the X-ray specs to be able to kind of see that and manipulate and understand how to work with the bones, and I feel like again, like that has continued to be a thread through the broader web creator world that sort of gets discovered and rediscovered in various forms, shapes, and sizes, even names. And I've given up on caring that much. It's like, hey, if you're doing the good work, you can call it whatever you want at this point. Like the object-oriented UX that Sophia Prater has been, inventing and teaching for years now. Like it's just a brilliant way to bring people into information architecture thinking, right? Like, so yeah, I'm proud of it. I really am, and I'm proud to have been associated with it at all.
Yeah, that is, I think, as good of a note as any we could ask to close out on with a minute left to our scheduled time. I want to thank you, Jesse, Christina, Andrew, all of you for your time today. I want to let our attendees know that by attending today, you've automatically RSVP'd for our future session scheduled for September 4th. Same bad time, same bad channel. And also thank Kevin Shearer for technical support, Mike Creech for production specialist, Abby for connecting us, making this happen. I had a passing mention to her at the conference this year saying, I need to get the history from you, and she said, you need to get it from everyone. So Abby brought us together for this. And just thank everyone for watching the conversation in the chat and everywhere else. This is an extremely humbling group to be part of and to be able to capture this. So on behalf of myself and probably Cass as well, thank you everyone for being part of it today.
Happy Friday.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.